it's Dr. Rick with an Herbal 411 highlights, and I can't look at the camera. I have to watch for some cracks in the ice. So I'm on Mallard Lake's lake, not too far away from the shore. But this is the one cool thing about being in Chicago, is that if you wait long enough, and you can see the tracks where other people have gone. I think that's some ice fishing over there. Let's go see. When the lake freezes over, you're pretty safe to go out on the lake. I wouldn't go way deep. Here's an ice hole. So if I just, that thing. So that's frozen over. I don't know how old the ice hole is. You can see a couple different pockets here. I have two people going through chemotherapy. And I'm working with their oncology teams to try to use what we can do with nature. That means nutrition, maybe a little bit of exercise, maybe a little bit of ketosis to improve outcome. I do trust my oncology guys because they use a lot of really fancy medicines to try to kill the cancer. Cancer cells are your own cells, but they've just gone rogue. Something triggered them to be a little bit different so that they don't stop growing. Your normal cells go through some cell cycle, like a red blood cell. It lives for about 3 months and then it dies. Your skin cells go through a lot of change and then they die. Now that's an automatic programmed death. It's called autophagy. But cancer cells, for some reason, they've learned to bypass that and they keep on growing. So I think that if you cannot tame that cancer cell, it will take over and it will start to suck all the nutrition out of you. It'll start to invade local tissue. And that's not good, obviously. And if it is a gland that is a cancer, it doesn't do its job. So you lose the hormones or the function of that gland. There's also secondary cancer. So regardless, while the oncology team does their thing, I suggest a press pulse. Dom D'Agostino and Tom Seafried came up with this idea about a press pulse theory where you can use nutrition without starving yourself. You can't starve yourself, but you can use nutrition to push the cancer cells over. Every cell will go into hibernation if you go into a little bit of starvation. Now, I don't want you to go to starvation. The idea is, like with the work of Walter Longo, you decrease your total caloric intake and you pretend, you tell the body, you send the body signals that there's no food around. So when there's no food around, the senescent cells, even the mitochondria in the cells, die off. It's kind of like a train going from New York to LA, and it only has so much. I'm talking about the old-fashioned trains where you burn coal. When you run out of coal, you can't stop. You got to get to the next destination. And what you do is you start disassembling the cars on the train that you don't need. You take apart seats, you break open wood, you put it as fuel till you get to destination and you fix yourself. So that's what the body does. When you lower the caloric intake and the fuel to just a little bit. And if you want the details, Walter Longo says of the 5-day fast, once a month, 1,000 calories, 750 calories on the second to the 5th days. And that's tough. And I'm helping my patients get through that. But the idea is to get through the 5th day, but the 3rd day is nasty. If you're not used to burning fat, because all of us have most of us have extra fat, then your brain, before it changes over into adopting fat metabolism, it makes you hunt for a lot of food or fuel source. And it gives you grumpy. It also gives you a little bit of headache, won't make you get to sleep as usual. You'll feel weak. And those are all the signs of the body, I think, switching over. Especially if your body mass index is a little bit on the high side, you got a lot of fuel in your tummy. That apron that's in the belly can be used for fuel, but if you're used to carbohydrates, because most Americans are too heavy on the carbohydrate, then before the body and the brain switch over to adopting to fat as fuel, it will be rocky. So that's the withdrawal. Some people call it a detox, but that's usually the 3rd day of the 5-day cycle. So if I can get my patients and give them a thumbs up, give them some words of those of you who've been through fasting mimicking. I'm sure that my 2 patients will want to remain anonymous, but give them some support. I sometimes suggest getting out of the house, because if you have a partner that's not going through it and they're eating in front of you, or your kids are eating in front of you, that's tough. So that's why I sometimes get out to places like the Mallard Lake Forest Preserve. It distracts you. So if you can take advantage of getting outside and distracting the brain, sometimes getting yourself involved in a project would also be an idea. Once the brain is distracted, then the pain and the boredom and the lack of eating isn't so tough. The other thing to distract or give the brain, if it's not used to adopting to using fat as fuel, you can give the brain a little bit of fat. So glycerol is what is included in the fasting mimicking diet. There's liquid and there's a bottle, and you pour the equivalent of your weight into the bottle of glycerol. That's a building block. It induces gluconeogenesis in the body, and you mix it with water. I usually put in airborne fizz tabs to give it that cherry or strawberry flavor, but the box, the Prolon box, and I'll put a link down below, comes with tea bags. I think it's mint and pomegranate, so it gives flavor. But bottom line is, I think they designed it because they knew by the 2nd, 3rd, 4th day that people will be really hurting. So it gives you a little bit of a taste. For my patients that have reflux, I tell them not to indulge in coffee, but I think for this case, again, if you don't have any reflux, or if you're just dealing with it by withdrawing from coffee, this might be a reward. So coffee, maybe 1 or 2 cups in the morning with the MCT oil powder by Quest. I've tried a couple different powders. Some of them are nasty. I like Quest. And just have to be careful if you have reflux, because we don't want belly pain and reflux to be flaring during chemotherapy. When you're going through chemo, the idea is to pulse before the chemo. So that's what Longo, I communicated with him before he came out with his book, but I haven't been able. He's big time now, but the idea before with Longo, before he launched his Prolon boxes, was 3 days before the chemo, hit with fasting mimicking, and then 2 days after the chemo. But it depends on the type of chemo, and you should always be making sure this is okay with your oncology team. But in my opinion, most oncology teams don't even embrace nutrition. Keith Block, I'm working with some teams, but Keith Block is out of North Shore in Evanston, and he does integrative oncology. But if you just get the blessing, get to see one of us, either integrative medicine doctor or a nutritionist who's well versed with how to manipulate your nutrition. The Prolon box, I sell them on my website. I'll put a link down below, or see my website. And by the way, I do these videos routinely, so don't forget to subscribe to me on my YouTube channel, and I'll be offering monthly programs at the Endorphin Effect, where I train patients to empower you with not only cancer, but anti-cholesterol, anti-diabetes, weight loss, fibromyalgia. There's ways to do this smartly using evidence-based medicine, so you have to be careful, and I'm the guy who's supposed to bridge between Western medicine and alternative medicine. So you do the fasting mimicking, or either the Prolon box or something like it that you can formulate on your own, or get a nutritionist to help you. And then the rest of the month, which is the 6th to the 31st, depending on the days of the month, then you practice your routine, whether it's a vegan diet or keto diet, or go back to paleo with wisdom. And I can give you some ideas about how to take advantage of those diets, and also decrease your chances for heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure if you come to one of my lectures. Because you have to know, they're all really good. I'm not married to just one. I'm a plant-based athlete myself, but I take care of patients that are on keto, paleo, exercisers, people that fast, intermittent fasting by Jason Fung. They're all great, but you have to have it personally designed. So don't think that you're all on your own. I think there's ways to do this stuff wisely and combine it with Western medicine so your outcomes are better. The bottom line, like Longo came up with, is to have longevity. If you have longevity and a good health span, you're great. If you have longevity but you're stuck in a wheelchair, you're not so great. If you don't have longevity and you die early, Well, we don't want that because the burden gets put onto the family and we'll miss you. So we want everybody to stay around, be thriving, and be an athlete into the 80s, 90s, and maybe into the centenarian level. So hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas. Thanks for watching up until this point in time. If you don't have a doctor that believes in embracing cool stuff like I talk about, come to see me. I communicate with patients from the Philippines, from Europe, from Canada, from South America, from Africa too. So I guess that's all. That's most of the continents. I just have to find somebody in Antarctica. Try to empower yourselves, get outside, stay healthy, and always try to chip away at the best life that you can live. Thanks for watching.